Hello, my friend. I'm glad to see you made it today. We have gathered here in the name of Jesus Christ. Glory be to God, He's alive. This is the Gospel Hour with David. Uh, I'm glad you guys joined it. Today I have a special little thing. It's not so much Gospel Hour as Bible study, but I want to respond to another radio show or another show, and it is the Atheist Experience. That's the name of their show, the Atheist Experience, and it's Don and Matt. They are call-in radio show. Call in with your questions or your evidence of why you believe in what you believe in. And they had some great questions and that are real sound, real logical, and viable questions that we as Christians should be willing to answer, and not just willing to answer, but to think about what their questions are. So I have a response to Matt and Don, and they had a caller call in, and poor old, Carl from Oklahoma was crushed within 12 minutes of his false testimony. And I don't know, and that's the thing, they are asking for evidence outside of the Bible. So give me your evidence or the basis upon why you believe in a God, and what's the evidence for that God's existence, and show us outside of the Bible, like your own evidence, right? And so I think God is science. I think in science we find God, and God is very scientific. We look into the universe, we look into all things and see the evidence of intelligence. And not just like when I look at the moon, I see that the moon itself is intelligent. And people and scientists will tell you, well, that moon don't just stay there because it chooses to. It's there because of the gravitational pull, which comes by the sun, and all those things. But in it, there's something intelligent. Plus, they have no evidence or proof. That's a theory. That's a theory. This is what we believe, right? In a theory, and until that theory is proven false, well, that's truth. Same with faith in God or a God. That until our faith is proven false, right? It's truth. And so Jesus says, and why do I mention Jesus? Because to me, Jesus Christ is my God. And why do I believe Jesus Christ is my God? Or why have I chosen him as God? What is the evidence for any of that? And, well, in all of it, I believe that we, the human beings of this world, are one made in the image of God. So if I'm going to put on logic thinking and who is God and what is God, is God like Horus, one of the ancient gods? Horus was a cow, and would God come in the form of a cow? Beings, we ourselves are made in God's image, if we believe that. And I happen to believe that we are made in God's image. So why do I believe Jesus Christ is God? Because God appeared in his own image. He didn't appear in a statue, right? There's many gods and different forms of gods and thousands of different gods, and there's a statue for every single god. But can that statue talk? Can any of those statues or any of those gods or things produce evidence, right? And I don't believe they can, especially if God made us in his image. Why would God use something else to provide evidence of his existence? If we're gonna see God, we're gonna see God in the image, right? That he has declared himself as. So he says, man was made in my image. So he must look like a man. He must look like a human. Jesus looked like a human. He was a man, right? Now, why else would I put my faith or belief or in Jesus or a God that I didn't see, that other people saw? And one, I tried that. I was like most other Christians in my life, and I tried to believe in another person's testimony, like believe in the Bible and the testimony of the people in the Bible. Like I was going to believe in their faith, and their faith would carry me along, or their testimony. But I really had no evidence, right? And even in the Bible, there none of the disciples or the people who said they knew Jesus himself, neither God, wrote the Bible. But people who experienced something, they had an experience, and those are the people who wrote the Bible, whether they had an experience with meeting eyewitnesses of Jesus or Jesus himself. Something moved them. And it wasn't faith in another man's story, but something happened in their lives, and it moved them. It changed them. For me, myself, faith wasn't good enough. Yeah, I wanted to believe in faith. But I don't know if it was faith or what it was, but something created a desire, just like all other people, to know what's the truth and where's the evidence of this truth. So I like many people say, if you want to know who God is, you got to ask God. Like, who are you? And so I did that. And there's many times where in my life, and even still today, there's times in my life where I'm like, where is God? Where's God when people are raising children with mental illness? Whether it be like schizophrenia types of mental illness, autism, or whatever it is, some sort of bodily deformity. What kind of a God does these things or allows murder and war and genocide and unrighteous things, and all of it. I got to know, how do I know any of those things are bad? And why do I believe those things are bad or right or good? And I got to say I'm intelligent. What defines intelligence? The difference between right and wrong, knowing. Kind of like the moon. There must be an intelligent design behind the moon. Maybe the moon itself has intelligence because it says to itself, if I go outside of my orbit, outside of my boundary, I'll crash into the earth. Or whatever it may be. Now, when I say I believe in Jesus Christ or I believe in a God, what kind of a God do I believe in? Well, I believe God is love. Now, can I prove God exists? Well, I can prove love exists. Now, I got to be able to define love. And there I can have an evidence of something I can touch and feel and see. And I say, for me, God is love. And how do I know God's love? Because when I asked God, where are you? Where were you in that disaster or that thing, or in where are you in the midst of all of this that's going on? His love, he answered. See, I have heard the voice of Jesus Christ, and I don't have, like you, I don't have a witness. And there's where faith comes. Do you want to believe my witness? Right? See, it's kind of like in 1984, they have the United States Olympic team, a bunch of nobodies, a bunch of college kids, non-professional athletes go out and win the world gold medal in Olympic hockey, right? And they're playing against the Russians and the Swedes and all these people who are made up of all-star teams of professional athletes. And yet these college kids go in and win that and become one of the greatest American Olympic teams to ever engage in it. And I wasn't there. I was 10 years old. Didn't see it. In fact, the day it was going on, I'm out playing with crawdads and tadpoles and doing things that 10-year-old kids do. But there was 100 million people that saw it and experienced it. And there were people there at the stadium, and they saw it, and they experienced it. And the joy and the excitement they felt. They could tell me all about the experience and what it was like and how awesome it felt and how cool it was that these young kids beat these professional athletes. And I could believe in their testimony alone. Or, I could play a replay of the movie or the actual event, and there have that evidence to believe in something that happened. And I come to realize in the Bible, it's not that they're writing or inventing a God. They're saying something happened in my life that was so profound. It moved me to a place where I was willing to allow people to saw me in half, cut me down, destroy me, ridicule me, shame me, and all these things, because what I experienced was so profound. I know without a doubt in my life, in my body, whether you witnessed it or not, it happened. It happened. And that experience was real. And even after I heard the voice of Jesus Christ there in 1994, it takes 20 more years of my life to say what had happened in my life was real. And it was evidence. I got videos and things of me that are made from 2013 all the way to today. You could go to the videos in 2013 and see physically that I have evidence that God, Jesus Christ, can transform anyone. He can transform anyone. And that's what I'm saying, that if you knew God, He would transform you. And what is the evidence of God in our world? And is it faith? Well, you would have faith if you believed in my story. Without seeing it, without having been there. But the evidence is that I know God can transform anybody or anything. And I am the evidence. That's the thing. What's the evidence? Me. In all the Bible. What was Gideon's evidence? Me. Gideon. This is the evidence. Hey, how do we know you spoke to an angel of the Lord? Yeah, he did 3 miracles for you, and all these things. Lets it rain on the carpet and then doesn't rain on the carpet and wall. But we weren't there. What's your evidence? Me. My faith in what happened was so profound in my life, I'm ready to move 100,000 people into a place where God promised us to go. Then, somehow, I don't know, people believed in him. Then he said, well, God said, I don't need 100,000. I need 300. And why does God always put it down to numbers like this so that we can't say ourselves that I proved God is real? I did this on my own might. Does God need our power? Does God need anything from us? No. We don't need, God doesn't need anything. He doesn't need us to help him save people or get people to believe. God does these things on his own. And if you knew God, you would be so moved. You would transform your life. Everything has intelligent design. Even us. And what is the thing, do I believe in a God? And I believe in Jesus Christ as God because through him he shows and shares what he knowed about God. That God is unconditional love. Now, what is faith? Faith is believing in something unseen. And I know for a fact, through scientific evidence or experience or whatever it is, that unconditional love does not exist in this world. It's not in this world. It's not out here in a place where it can be seen. You say, well, what's the evidence that unconditional love exists, or God, who is unconditional love, exists? Well, why doesn't God stop war? Maybe it's beyond my imagination, but God could love people who engage in war. And so he allows them to exist. There's something about unconditional love that we as human beings just wished we could wrap our minds around, but we can't. We're not empowered with it, or we just don't believe that it exists. I don't know. But I know unconditional love exists because when God creates the sun, the moon, and the stars, and earth, and all the life on it, he allows that life to exist and be. Even if all the human beings are the most vile things in all of God's creation, he still allows it to be. And maybe why people are born with disabilities and different things, it's just another expression of what is unconditional love like. Do you really think God cannot love a broken person or an imperfect person? Maybe God is displaying his magnificent love through that person because they exist. That's a form of unconditional love. Same with the poor, same with the rich, same with the greedy, same with everything that's out there. There must be some sort of intelligence behind it all. In the same way, if you study science, they have the God particle, and there the scientists ram two particles together, two minute, tiny atoms together, and when they hit, they blast it open, and inside of that is a particle, or an existence, or a thing. And they say without that particle, without that thing, nothing can be or have form. It is the intelligence inside the intelligence inside of an atom, inside of a nucleus, which designs or gives life to trees or plants or fish or animals or humans or whatever it is. There's a code inside of there. Same with our DNA code. DNA and all these different things. Many people, I believe there are many gods. You say, why do you believe there are many gods? How can you say that? Don't you just believe in one God? I believe there's one God who created all things, but he created us to be gods. To be gods. To know God. To know the difference between right and wrong, good and evil. How do I know God exists? Because I have asked the question, where are you? That's wisdom. Where did that wisdom or that knowledge, faith, where is faith? And what is faith? And I say, what is the source of faith? Where did faith come from? Something had to create faith. Was it reading the Bible? Was it doing this or that? What creates faith or the source of faith? And as Jesus says, those who you cannot believe in something without having faith or evidence. Evidence, faith is evidence. Faith is an action. See, Jesus says that if you had faith, all right, now it has many teachings of how to connect with God, how to understand God, how to connect with people and to understand people in this world. There's many teachings of Jesus all about that. He has one teaching about prayer. Pray like this: Our Father who lives in heaven, right? And we go down and it's a very short prayer. That's all he's got on prayer. But now when he says to Peter, if you have faith, one of his disciples, if you have faith, all right, you wouldn't pray to God and say, God, move this mountain, or tell this mountain to uproot itself and throw itself into the sea. No, if you had faith, you walk up to the mountain and you say to the mountain, move. Faith is an authority. It's not just a belief, but it's authority. It's evidence. I have the authority given to me by God to tell you to move, and I know you you must obey my authority. Now move, he says to the mountain, and the mountain moves into the sea. Because I know my authority and where my authority comes from. The faith is saying to it, my authority is God-given, now move. Right? And Jesus says, all ye of little faith. How is it Jesus can do the miracles that they said that he did? Because I have the authority. And not only do I have the authority, I have the faith. And where did my faith come from? Standing face to face with God. Speaking to God face to face. And all these things. Where did my evidence come from? Hearing the voice of God. Not once, but a few times. And in it, God never, he was very consistent to the teachings of Jesus Christ. And this is outside of the Bible. This is in my life. David, he calls me by my name. David, right? He knows me personally. David, go and tell the world. He shows me how much he loves me. He shows me how precious I am to him. This isn't something I did. This is what he did to me, for me. And then shows me as an example of how important and precious I am to him. And then says, don't I love them all the same? See, in this world and how we have a condition on everything in every aspect of life. It's hard to believe in a God who has no conditions and loves unconditionally. It's hard to believe when divorce rate is 50% and higher in America that there's a husband, a God, a Christ, who says to his wife, I love you, even if you're sick, even if you're broken, even if you're poor. I love you through sickness and health, and I shall not depart from you till death. That's hard to believe, right? That's called unconditional love. I'm going to love my wife, and wife says to husband, I'm going to love you back unconditionally. Now, the display of God's love is seen through the Bibles of, like, say, Hosea, that when God and Hosea met God, that it was so profound and it moved him so much, he marries a prostitute, and while he's married to the prostitute's out whoring around, gets thrown into slavery. I will love you through sickness, through health, through disease, through the good times, through the bad times. Yeah, until I go out whoring myself to the neighborhood. And then Hosea goes and buys his wife back from slavery, buys her back, saying, oh, no, my love wasn't determined upon what you're doing or how you live your life or how hard you prove I exist. My love is determined because I made the vow without condition. God made a vow to the world, and the vow was to the world that Jesus Christ did not come into the world to destroy it, but to save it. And where is God's grace and mercy seen in this world? When I asked, where are you? He answered. That was the grace and mercy God showed me. He answered by providing evidence. What is the works we are to believe in? And it's the work of God, the evidence that God shows to us. That God could and can and is able to love us exactly the way we are right now. And if you don't believe it, that doesn't make it not true. If you don't believe the moon doesn't have intelligent design, that doesn't make it not true. It still stays perfectly in a spot as a faithful witness to the people that the light shines in darkness. There is intelligent design all throughout the universe, animal life, everything. You don't have to prove God exists. Sometimes the only thing we're missing in life is, if I really wanted to know God existed, why wouldn't I ask him himself to provide the evidence or the proof? Because I know for a fact it is God wishes that no one would perish. And I'm not saying you have to believe in God in order to not perish. I'm telling you that when I met God, this is what transformed my life. I finally knew for a fact that God is unconditional love. That's what transformed me. And I got evidence that he has transformed my life, my speech, the way I speak, the way I am, the way I think, the way I feel, the way I see the world. I used to not care so much about what was going on in the world. Jesus says, I'll send you the advocate, a comforter. And are we in our lives being an advocate for anything? Because if the Holy Spirit is in us, then we are an advocate, right? He is an advocate, not just for our salvation, but for the salvation of all people. What is salvation to me and all that? It's knowing God. Knowing God personally. Nobody can believe faith alone. The disciples had to believe in faith alone. Jesus appears to Mary. A woman says, go tell my brothers, meet me in Galilee. And they didn't believe him. He comes in and rebukes them right away. How could you come here and not believe? Making a point. Faith alone is dead. Where's the works? God provides the works. God provides the miracles. God provides the evidence. And I believe in what God has provided. Thomas said, I will not believe in not only the woman's witness, I'm not going to believe in your guys' witness. This is a guy who hung out with him for 3 years, day and night, followed him everywhere he went, heard every word he said, saw every miracle he did. I won't believe. Faith alone, I can't. I can't. And Jesus didn't condemn the guy. He said, here I am, I'm appeared, touch me. Feel me. And that's what transformed these people. Thomas was drugged behind a horse through the towns and down streets of India. Not because he had faith, but because he saw something so profound, it changed everything about his life. He's willing to die for it. For the truth. What was the truth? No matter what you say, what I experienced not only can transform me, but it can transform you too. All of them goes for me in my life. I was just fine working in the world. If you go through and see that all the people in the Bible were minding their own business. Didn't even care if God existed. And yet, he appeared to them. And the experience moved them. That's what happened to me. So it says, who do you think is God? I think Jesus is God. Why? Because that's who appeared to me. How did I determine and why my God is real? How did I determine this? Because I couldn't deny the evidence. When you're standing in the presence of God, you can't deny it. You can't deny it. That's the thing. Where is God? God is right, is in heaven, or definition of heaven is God's abode, God's dwelling place, God's house, where God lives. Right? And God lives in my heart. God lives in your heart. He is the life of all men. That's what Jesus said. He is the light of all men. And that light is life. But to those who believed in it, believed in him and his teachings, he gave them the right to be called God's sons. Why do I think my God is real versus other gods? Well, he didn't appear to me, he appeared to me in spirit. No, I didn't see his face and didn't see heaven and all the angels. But he didn't appear to me in the form of a cow. The statue, this thing, it didn't talk to me. That didn't talk, He appeared to me in the form of Jesus Christ. You say, what did Jesus Christ look like? Unconditional love. And the only way I could explain what unconditional love looks like is look at him on the cross. Look at him on the cross. And this is an expression of God holding back whatever wrath or anger or hatred you think he has for this world, yourself, war, murder, whatever anger you think God has. Just look at him on the cross and where is it? Where's the evidence of that? Because I see in this world evidence that God not only loves life, he loves to give life freely, unconditionally, to everything. To do everything. Does God need my help with proving he is real? No. He doesn't need my help. You may hear my testimony and put faith in what I said by asking God yourself for the evidence, for the proof. And he will do that for you. He told me personally that he has already heard your prayers. And he's coming soon to answer your prayers. How do we determine what is real? Right? These are some of the questions for Matt and Don. How do we determine what is real and what is not real? Experience. Whatever. If you want to say something is not real, you got to be a part of the experience to say it's not real or it is real. 1984 hockey team. Did it really happen? Well, the players will tell you about their experience. All the fans will tell you about their experience, how they felt, what happened, the score, right? All those things. My experience. Not what these people experienced, but what I experienced. And then I could say, well, what was it that I experienced? And I could look at these people's testimony and say, yeah, I experienced the same thing they did. So we start out with one witness, the goalkeeper. And then now we got 5 witnesses, the goalkeeper and the players, the forwards and the wings and all these other guys, the defensive guys and that. And we got the opposite team, and now we're building witness. We don't have one guy's testimony. We got 10 guys' testimony, and then we got 1,000 people sitting in the stands testimony, the 100 million people watching all their testimony, and the video evidence of it. And the experience. The experience. That's my evidence. Okay, I'm not the only person. There's 100 million of us worldwide. We've never met, and we're all telling you about the same experience we had with the same God. That's my evidence. Is faith a reliable source to evidence? Just faith alone. And I don't believe faith can exist or does exist without the evidence. Abraham heard the voice of God and he believed. And he believed. And that was credited as righteousness. That was the source of faith. God spoke, he heard, he experienced, and then believed it. The source is God himself. I cannot have faith. That's the Holy Spirit. I cannot have faith or believe in something that doesn't exist because God won't allow it. I can only believe in the truth. My faith is in a God who is unconditional love. And how I know God is not in this world, because unconditional love doesn't exist except for one place: heaven and my heart. Nobody loves me unconditionally except for me. And I'm evidence of that. I'm proof of that. God lives in his temple and protects his temple. We are the temple. I don't know if faith is a reliable source for believing in something unseen. But that's what I'm saying is, I do believe in something that exists. And how do I know it exists? Because it's unseen. I thank you, the Atheist Experience show. I hope to be a guest on your show. I thank you, Matt and Don. I hope you catch this. And whoever you are out there, God bless you. May Christ unveil himself to you as he did to me. Have a good day.